Good evening. I call to order the Lake Havasu City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, December 8th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Members of the public can attend in person or watch or listen to the meeting live via Channel 4, or they can also go to lhcaz.gov/TV. Members of the public can also submit written comments for call to the public and public hearing items by emailing City Clerk at cityclerk@lhcaz.gov. We'll now have an invocation from Stephanie Luares from the Community Presbyterian Church. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you on behalf of London Bridge Christian Churches for this opportunity. Let's pray. Father God, as we come together this evening with just a spirit of heaviness in our lives individually and corporately and in our community and nation and world, I just ask that you would be with us in this meeting and in this time together, that we could speak well with each other, that we could come to an understanding, that we can express our opinions in a constructive way and express facts and figures, and for the betterment of all in our community. We love this great city of Lake Havasu, and I think we all can come together on that agreement. Lord, just continue to be with us. Provide our leaders with the wisdom and discernment they need to make the decisions needed for this community. Continue to be with us, strengthen us, guide us, and keep us well. And we pray this in the holy and almighty name of Jesus today. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by the Lake Havasu Area Chamber of Commerce, Lisa Kruger.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if you want to share a little bit about your organization, Lisa.
I do. First of all, I'd like to introduce who I have with me. I have two members of the Chamber's Board of Directors. I have Ross Johnson from Horizon Community Bank and Jason Hellart from College Street Brewery. So I'm very happy to have them here to help me represent the Chamber organization tonight. And as you know, I fairly regularly bring new members of the Chamber of Commerce to meet you and to be introduced to the City Council as just a gentle reminder that business are kind of the cogs in the wheel that keep everything rolling in our community. Tonight, I'm very pleased to introduce you to John Schaff. Did I say it right? Excuse me, John has two newer chamber memberships. He has 1-800 Water Damage and Healthy Choice Chem Dry. John's company also offers, just FYI, as we live in this COVID world, his company offers a program where they can disinfect your workspace and offer 90 days of protection from COVID. So I'm very happy to have him here and introduce him to you tonight.
Excellent.
And I'm not sure, but I'm going to get one more plug in here. I also want to remind everyone in the room that it is the season for giving. And because we cannot have a Chamber of Commerce mixer in December, but we still want to collect the hams that we traditionally do every year for the Havasu Community Health Foundation Food Bank. We have made arrangements to have a ham drive, and it will be held next Wednesday, December 16th, from 2 to 6 p.m. We have a collection site that will be set up in the breezeway between Jersey's Grill and Havasu Hardware. So I hope that everybody will participate and help out those that are less fortunate this season. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, the next item on the agenda is our roll call. Ms. Williams, if you could please call the roll.
Council members Jenny Koch,
Here.
Michelle Lynn, Jim Dolan,
Here.
Nancy Campbell,
Here.
Cameron Moses,
Here.
Vice Mayor David Lane,
Here.
Mayor Cal Sheehy.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lynn is not with us tonight. Her son actually was sworn in as a U.S. citizen today, so they are down in Phoenix. So she won't be joining us. And then Councilmember Dolan, did you want to say a couple of things?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to give a little update of why I haven't been at the last couple of meetings. I'm at home recovering from spinal neck fusion. So my doctor told me to take it easy and go light. And so I'm doing my best to follow doctor's orders. So
Well, we wish you a speedy recovery, and we're glad that you can join us via Zoom, and we have this technology for you still to be a part of our meetings. So thank you.
thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the call to the public. The call to the public is an opportunity for citizens to address the City Council on issues within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. Comments must be limited to 3 minutes or less. There is a light indicator box next to Ms. Williams. Green means you have 3 minutes. Yellow means that 1 minute is remaining, and red means that your 3 minutes are done. The call to the public does not have any specific concerns or thoughts that you might be bringing forward agendized, so the City Council cannot respond, but we will listen intently to your comments. Over the past few months, we've had a number of citizens address the council on items and provide some inaccurate information. Lake Havasu City does not have a mask proclamation. However, public health best practices encourages the use of masks when appropriate, and the city encourages our citizens to educate themselves and follow best practices and take personal responsibility. Lake Havasu City Council members all took the oath to uphold the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and as a city in America, we identify as a city that upholds the Constitution. The city of Lake Havasu City has not closed any businesses. We have educated the business community and citizens on the various executive orders issued by the governor. The city is not discussing business closures, face mask requirements, or sanctuary city resolutions this evening. These items are not on the agenda. We ask that those in attendance this evening practice decorum and a mutual respect among speakers. In an effort to get as many speakers as possible, please refrain from applause so the next speaker can hear their name being called. Also, if you have heard a speaker previously speak or talk on items or talking points or positions that you support, there is no need for duplication. Please only speak on new points or topics, and you don't need to sign up to speak, but we have had several that have signed up to speak, so we'll start with those first. And the first speaker is Christine Simmons. If you please make your way to the podium.
Sounds good. Hello, and welcome to our new council members. I'm Christine. I've been here several times before wearing my mellow yellow. I am an NRA member for 5 years, so I'm not against shooters, but I want them to be safe and be responsible and aware of our desert. I have a shout out to Chief Doyle. He has a special task force helping us that live on the BLM. And last Saturday night, we had major shooting at night. What are they shooting at? I don't know, but major shooting. And I called Sergeant Jacobs. He responded immediately. A big shout out to him and to our our police department. And I don't know if you got this in the mail, but I am donating to our Havasu police, and I hope you will too. We need a second Sarah Park. What a concept. We're overrun with shooters, and I think many of them are from California, and they see desert and they go, oh yeah, way, and they don't know the difference between BLM land and state land, and they're breaking rules. My neighbor that lives up the street from me on Colt Drive, she has a mountain behind her. They set their targets up at the top of the mountain and they shoot, and her backyard is raining bullets. So this has really gone too far. So I like to see a second Sarah Park on the north off of 95 where there are no homes. What a concept. And then I'd like to see multi-use trails up by my area, the equestrian area, so that our equestrians can ride, our hikers can hike without dodging bullets, and our little side-by-sides can also go out there safely. So Prescott has a fantastic program that we need to duplicate here in Havasu. They have a multi-use trail for those 3 people, the hikers, the riders, and the little SUVs, to go around the whole city. So think of that. You're out at Walmart, you can hop onto a multi-use trail and go home. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing? So right now our city's growing, so we need to establish that trail for safe travel. Our shooters, please be responsible. You're going to lose your privileges. Leave no trace. Remove your targets. We found targets on cactus. Come on, really? Use a tarp to collect your shells. So the entire city, I really would like us to respond to a safe environment for everyone to enjoy the desert. I have a handout about put these dates on your calendar. March 27th and 28th, we're having a huge cleanup day in Paso de Oro, which is my side street, an entrance to the desert. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, the next speaker will be Bill Mitchell, followed by Richard Hawkins. Good evening, Mr. Mitchell.
Good evening, Mayor Shee and City Council members. We're getting to be on a first-name basis here. You can call me Bill.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Just if you could lift the microphone up a little bit for those at home, please. Thank you.
There we go. Okay, tonight I'll try and be brief. Mayor Shee, I'm kind of responding this week to your comments in the paper about how you didn't necessarily see a need for a resolution because of the fact that, you know what, we follow the Constitution, it's the supreme law of the land, and so on. A lot of things you spoke about tonight. However, there's a problem. Let's see, who's your city manager or city attorney? You have him here tonight? Probably not. Oh, you're the city attorney? Great. Okay. I see. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but Mr. Mitchell, you have to address the council during
okay.
please.
Well,
thank you.
I would ask your city attorney to look up the case that is a Pennsylvania District Court case that basically took a look at the COVID-19 restrictions and how they were used in the state of Pennsylvania. And basically Butler versus Wolf, Governor Wolf of that state, basically was held accountable for the fact that his handling at the governor's level was basically a violation of the First and 14th Amendment and specific issues. So when you say that you followed the Constitution, his criteria was very similar to our governor's criteria about how he handled it, and as well as the cities and everybody, the counties and everybody down the line did very similarly. So I would ask you to research that, because what you're going to find out is that there's a pattern here of denial of the First and 14th Amendment to the constituents of this city as well as this county. Now, when we were up at the county supervisors meeting on Monday, they recognized this fact, and Hildy Angus put the Resolution 1776 on the agenda so that they could go and review that and basically hear people's concerns, because we're dealing with a crisis of trust in city government. And really, I want there to be trust in the city government, because right now, a lot of people are going, my business got shut down. I wasn't able to go here. I wasn't able to go there, and different things like that. And violations of Title 18, I know that you're not necessarily, I don't know if you're not privy to it, but I've talked to a number of people who basically have said that the police showed up and made suggestions with a badge and a gun that they were just supposed to close because they were non-essential business. That's basically a violation of Title 18, 242. And if you look at it from a conspiracy standpoint, it's also 241. So I really would like you to know that the laws have been broken and that the Constitution has been violated, okay? And there's case law to back me up. I'm not here to talk about opinion, I'm here to talk about facts, because I am not interested in being emotional with you or, rah, 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 the government sucks and, we're all great. That's not my point. My point is that I want you to know that I want this government, because I love the city, probably just like you guys love the city, okay? But there's some things that are really awful about this shutdown and that something's wrong with it. So one of the things I want to address is the issue.
Yeah, Mr. Mitchell, the time is up.
Oh, is that the time?
I
thought my thing went red or something.
Yeah, no,
mine's still green.
Boxes, I missed one. I'm sorry about that.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
thank you.
Just know that Resolution 1776 is something that we would like to have as be a solution, and I'm sure you'll hear more later.
Thank you. The next speaker is Richard Hawkins, followed by Sarah Jones.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Richard Hawkins. Last Thursday, I delivered a November 27 letter to each of you, and I have to ask if you got that copy of the letter with the signature pages. I'm asking that you consider that letter a petition to redress grievances per the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, with Resolution 1776 as the proposed solution to resolving these grievances, which offers better assurance of protection for our rights and liberties in the future. The year 2020 has been an unusually chaotic year, including some rather drastic and totalitarian edicts that have been issued across the nation. Luckily, the impact and damage to Lake Havasu City has been moderate compared with other areas of the country, but more damaging than some of the other states, such as South Dakota. Now, my wife and I last summer traveled 18 states. South Dakota was one of them. It was like entering another country compared to the other states we were through with the lockdowns, with the mask requirements. The governor in South Dakota said, you have the personal responsibility and self-government. You know what the dangers are. Protect yourselves. Gave it to the citizens as our founding fathers had intended for the United States based on the Constitution, Declaration of Independence. And that's what we're pretty much seeking in this resolution. In addition, we're seeking a response for interposition. Now, you may not have given the edicts for the shutdowns and business closures and masks, but you do have a requirement of interposition to uphold the Constitution on our behalf to higher authorities. Now, you did that a number of years ago when the Department of Fish and Game tried to shut down the river. The city stood up and interposed for Lake Havasu City, for its residents, for its businesses, to get the Fish and Game to pull back the draconian requirement. And you won. You did a good job for that. And that's what we'd be looking for if there's another future incident of shutdowns, lockdowns that are violating our rights, our privileges, our ability to govern ourselves. So with that, consider this a petition to redress grievances, and I hope that this opens up discussion for the resolution and adoption on the agenda to start discussing this openly. And thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sarah Jones, followed by Karen Vanderjack. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening. How are you guys? All right. The tyrant will always find a pretext for his tyranny. Today we are witnessing a divided nation wherein the elite sits back and laughs at the peons as the peons tear each other apart instead of tearing the elites apart. We are at war with each other, which sadly has been the plan all along. Divide and conquer. For example, the elitist nanny state established a complaint referrals line so the citizens can snitch on each other for it. For each other and is awarded taxpayer money for it. Brilliant. You can count on our ignorance and naivety and complacency to take our money and destroy us with it, all in the name of a health emergency. And most of us bought it. This is tyranny in its ugliest form, setting citizens against citizen, reminiscent of Nazi Germany tactics. And then there's the immunization service fund. More dirty money, a hefty sum to prepare us for the inevitable needle prick. More of our money to complete their global plan. We're already hearing hints of forced vaccinations, namely corporacy. As Supervisor Ron Gold had pointed out in the November 23rd County Board Supervisor meeting, corporations requiring vaccines in order to work, travel, shop, etc. In other words, restricting our freedoms as much as possible to get their compliance. This is tantamount to the camel's nose easing ever so slightly underneath the tent until he's all the way in. It begins locally and metastasizes globally, but Lake Havasu City and Mojave County can cut the cancer out right now by refusing the bribe money from the state. Vague and elusive language designed to sell out the citizenry. Again, our taxpayer money. Do we, the people, have any say in this, or will you just vote aye? Anyway, after enduring the torturous call to the public, our voices will be heard and you must do the right thing and refuse the filthy money. Our republic is at stake, and the Lake Havasu City Council can vote to stay course towards communism or say no and reverse these draconian edicts, mandates. You're the ones responsible for instilling fear in the citizenry in the first place. Take responsibility, reinstate freedom and liberty now. In the words of our founding father, Benjamin Franklin, make yourself sheep and the wolves will eat you. While the table has been set and the pot is boiling, a few strays are leaving the herd, more and more of us each day, and we're standing up against tyrannical rule. Just a little more, please.
Yeah, you just wrap it up.
I am. All right. We have only just begun the fight, and now we direct you, Lake Havasu City Council, to the people's elected representatives to show the courage and stand up to the unelected bureaucrats, refuse the blood money, and put an end to this suicidal madness. Approve Resolution 1776 and make Lake Havasu City a constitutional sanctuary city. Also, real quick, you wanted to hear from more of our citizens, and maybe you take us a little more serious. Well, we have plenty of people here tonight. I don't know if you noticed them standing out front when you all walked in, but please hear us.
Thank you,
Okay?
Sarah. Yeah. The next speaker is Karen Vanderjack, if you can make your way, and then it'll be Greg Beffert. Good evening. Welcome, Karen.
Good evening. Why is it necessary for citizens to say, stop, this law is not just. It doesn't correspond to our rights in the U.S. Constitution. Obviously, the whole COVID pandemic and its destruction is the perfect example of power gone rogue. We, the people, had no means or control to even govern our own health. When I say destruction, I don't mean the virus itself. I mean loss of businesses, mental health concerns, unattended health issues, suicides, neighbors snitching on neighbors, etc. Let's just look at what happens when people cannot govern themselves. When the government incentivizes calling a death a COVID death, example $13,000 and $39,000 if the patient is on a respirator when they die, then a struggling hospital will and has been very creative making sure a COVID cause of death is attached to any death, including accidental deaths. This, of course, raises the morbidity rate, causing even more fear. When the CDC demands all hospitals be prepared for an onslaught of dying cases, hospitals and medical workers fail to diagnose cancer, heart conditions, and diabetes goes unchecked. Cancer patients forego their chemotherapy, and their larger fear becomes the COVID plague. When California opened to other cases, the ICU was full of patients who had amputations because of no control over their measures for diabetes. In reality, Lake Havasu City has 32 ICU beds that were never filled to capacity. We actually took in patients from other cities. Let's go into the mental health issues that have been damaging. So while there's like 24% increase of elementary age students who need mental health care and 34% increase of junior high age, suicide is up 300%, and 1 in every 4 adults between the ages of 18 and 24 had seriously considered suicide. My friend Lynn, who's here, she said her brother was brought here in March and he had Alzheimer's, and she hasn't been able to visit him for 9 months. Doctors all over the world have signed on to the truth of therapeutics that are safe and effective, but yet the CDC, under government control, keeps these from the public or denies their success. Again, what can a citizen do when the government is out of control? Let's just look at the mask controversy for a second. They kept saying, they're effective, they save lives, don't be selfish, you're killing people. Reality, they don't work. They said science had proven it, yet it wasn't until just a few weeks ago the Danish study was the first actual scientific study proved that masks were completely ineffective for the COVID virus. Did the CDC and the government listen? No, it didn't match their narrative. Finally, the most insulting truth is the fatality rate of COVID. It is 0.5%. Total deaths in the U.S. is less than it was 7 years ago. In the last 7 years, it is less people have died. Again, what is a citizen to do?
Thank you, Karen. The next speaker is Greg Beffert, followed by Bob Bindles. Good evening, Greg. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor. I'd like to address some of the comments that were in the paper from some of the city council members based on the meeting from last week. Bill Mitchell touched on a couple of them. The first one that I'll attribute to you, Mayor, was the denial of the fact that this council was involved in or had violated anybody's constitutional rights, whether it be by omission, which this conspiracy of silence has been responsible for, or by commission, by your acts. And you have done that, and you know full well what I'm talking about. So let's put the denial away. That's what politicians love to do, deny. That's one of the D's that I picked up on. Second one was Councilman Jim Dolan pointed out that there's already an avenue for citizens to challenge laws or executive orders that they believe violate their constitutional rights. In other words, he's advocating you must sue us, citizens, or take us to court in order for us to uphold the constitutional rights that you took an oath to uphold. That's what you're asking us to do or forcing us to do. Businesses, if you don't think we have the right to shut you down, take us to court, sue us. We get to pick and choose winners and losers, okay, because we're the government. That's all government can do is really coerce, okay? So I don't know if Councilman Dolan, I know you're listening, but that court case that Bill Mitchell talked about, the county of Butler versus Wolf, that county sued the state on behalf of the citizens. That wasn't a private entity. It was Butler County versus Wolf. So their county did what they were supposed to do, and they stood up and they sued the state on behalf of their citizens for violations of the same thing that our governor here does. So to say that you don't do any of these things, we haven't shut down, we haven't done any of this, the health department, it's the liquor board. By your omission, by your silence, you have spoken very loudly about where you stand with the citizens and where you stand with Governor Ducey's executive orders. What this proclamation is asking you to do is to change course. You've made a mistake. Okay, you made a mistake. You overreacted. We get it. Forgive yourselves first, and then the citizens of Lake Havasu City will forgive you. But you need to start turning this around. Another D I want to pick up on, discredit. And this one goes to you, David. I always like to hear what the public has to say and what they're thinking. I was a little disappointed with the reaction from the crowd. Basically, you were saying that because these people weren't happy with the reaction of the person that said that wearing a mask was no big deal, that they somehow violated, they were hypocritical in violating their First Amendment rights. They simply didn't like what she said. That is their right. They didn't interrupt her speech. They didn't shut her down. They in no way violated her first constitutional rights, and wasn't hypocritical. We can talk about hypocritical, David, if you want to.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Your time is up. The next
Thank
speaker is Bob Bindles, followed by David Lerner. Good evening and welcome, Bob. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Bindles, that's right.
Bindles, thank you.
Thank you very much for letting us speak. I want to talk about fear based on this lie, this fabrication from the CDC. Total deaths in 2013, 2,596,993 deaths. 2016, 2,744,000 deaths. 2018, 2,855,000 deaths. 2020, in the midst of this pandemic, 2,616,000. Less deaths in our country this year than previous years in the middle of a supposed pandemic. So my question is, why the lies about this? Well, part of my answers are people make idol worship. Why? Because if you create your own God, is to become a creator of this lie. And thus you legislators become your own gods. And if you can create your own God, you can create your own truth. And then your own rules, which then gives you the right to change the rules. Then you have chaos. Well, totalitarianism, socialism thrives on chaos. It needs the chaos to get things done. It's the tools. Politicians today in our society, with all this coming from our supposed leaders and media, unabashedly, I might add, we have a population now in a state of fear. What began as fear of then an unknown COVID-19 disease is evolved into delusional psychosis. The people in the state do not want to give up their masks and social distancing. People are becoming, such as you folks, becoming impervious to reason, to logic, education of the facts. At this point, they, the people, as you also, are psychotically managed by fear. And this is idiocy. And because of this, you legislators, people elected by us, need to start making policy for us based on right things. We, you, are supposed to look at perspective, cost, look at assets, look for truth, because the truth will set you free. So now what? What happens? People become fearful, unpredictable. They become reactionary. Level-headedness, rational thinking is out the window. In this, our precious town, we walk into businesses and are immediately confronted by other patrons in the business or employees regarding masks. Excuse me, where'd it go? Immediately confronted by other, and most of the encounters I've heard were polite, but some were rude and invasive by nature. Just 2 weeks ago, a young man walks into a liquor store to buy a pack of cigarettes, walks by a car. The guys in the car called him over, pull a gun and say, "Why aren't you wearing a mask? You're jeopardizing my and my family's life by you not wearing a mask." When people start getting fearful, they start acting stupid. Ladies at Staples, is my time up?
Yes. Thank you,
Shoot.
Bob.
Too much to say. Thank you.
All right. The next speaker is David Lerner, followed by Nikki Garrison. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is David Lerner, and it is the mask that is the act of terrorism. The cases of bacterial pneumonia, masks, ask any OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Association, also refer to the many medical journal articles that explain why masks, oxygen, and increased CO2 levels cause blood clots, organ, and brain show when mandatory masks are introduced. The death rates skyrocket in mind and overall health and immune system. I recently read a medical National Institute of Health, and in this report studied the 1918 and 1919 Spanish flu epidemic. To sum it up, the Spanish flu, what they discovered was that people were dying from mandated many places by your trusted health authorities. The cause were causing bacterial buildup in the mouth and throat, and eventually matter if you wash or change the mask frequently, because of the bacteria is in the breathed out and die on contact with the air, but let's face facts. This is expected to comply with your own murder. And we have one member on our team that has suffered physical problems from the mask. She will be speaking after me. You can deny those facts reviewed based upon this research. I would expect mass deaths from mask wearing that will be called COVID, but in fact, they are the same thing that killed so many during the real pandemic in 1918 and 1919. Please stop the masks. If somebody wishes to wear a mask, they may wear 10 masks. If they want to lock themselves up in the house for 3 months, they can lock themselves up. My constitutional rights say I don't have to wear a mask. I am in charge of my own health care. Please stop. Enough's enough. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Nikki Garrison, followed by Stephen Tuminello. Good evening. Welcome.
Hi. All right. So I'm going to approach this from a different direction. I'm not here to tell you guys my life story or my problems. I do come from a law enforcement family. My dad always told me no one's going to stand up for you but you. I was molested by a Santa Ana PD officer when I was 8 years old, and when I was 14, I was raped at knife point by a black man. If they had had masks on and I couldn't identify who they were, who knows what position I would be in right now. I can tell you that when I look into some people's eyes that have masks on, I can see the eyes of the people that offended me and that damaged me, and not being able to see their face is it's a violation of my rights. My rights are being violated. I should be able to see everybody's face when I go out in the street and know what they look like and be able to identify them if something happens to me. And to take that right away from me, that's not going to work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. I'm one of those women that want to commit suicide when they leave and they go to the store and they see somebody whose eyes look like the man that had them in the field when they were 14. And I try to get to my car and I can't see my keyhole to get into my car to get out of there. That's not fair to me. I should be able to see their face just like everyone else. If you are sick, stay home. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Tuminello, and then followed by Susie Smith.
My name is Stephen Tuminello, and I'm a resident of Lake Havasu City, Arizona. And speaking on behalf of myself and Sheriff Richard Mack, founder of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, who fully endorsed the Havasu Patriots in Resolution 1776. I'm wearing my Tyranny Response Team jacket that I wore in 2005 when I went to Washington, D.C. with the We the People organization to file the petition to redress grievances under the First Amendment for the first time in the history of the United States against our federal government. The grievances were essentially everything that President Trump has been trying to rectify since he has been in office. There was virtually no news coverage of this historic event other than being featured in Hollywood film producer and patriot Aaron Russo's documentary movie, America from Freedom to Fascism. I assisted Aaron with setting up interviews and consulted on location in D.C. with his producers and directors. I thought the title was a little harsh back then, but Aaron was prophetic in using the term fascism, which is another word for corporatism, which is exactly what we are dealing with now. When I left Washington, D.C., I realized that the corruption we were dealing with was beyond belief. I got a firsthand look at the swamp and how deep it was when they totally ignored our petition to redress grievances. This was when I first met Sheriff Mack and heard how he had fought all the way to the Supreme Court to save the Second Amendment. He was part of what I referred to as the super patriots. Like many of the big names in the patriot community that were part of the We the People group, names like Congressman Ron Paul, former FBI Supervisor Ted Gunderson, Constitutional Attorney Edwin Vieira, and many, many more. I was very discouraged and disillusioned after we were shut down by the Department of Injustice when they totally ignored our lawsuit. And I have to say I had that same feeling after I spoke with Mayor Sheehy back in July about the COVID restrictions here in Lake Havasu. I thought surely I can convince him that what he was doing was detrimental to the community economically and psychologically, as well as damaging the health of the citizens with mandatory self-suffocation devices being required. He seemed like such a nice guy with that big smile, and I thought surely he cannot be so ignorant to not listen to my rational argument, especially with a registered nurse administrator that I brought with me to explain the ineffectiveness of the suffocation devices. I guess I was being naive by not realizing that what was fueling these illogical decisions was funding from the state. A conference call with Sheriff Mack following my in-person meeting with Mayor Sheehy could not even sway the mayor's decision. I was just about ready to throw in the towel on fighting this insanity locally when I was told that I should be at the city council meeting on September 22nd, and that is when I met another super patriot, Greg Beffert, and through Greg, I met super patriot Bill Mitchell, and now we have the Havasu Patriots and Resolution 1776. Our Resolution 1776 is the answer to your 1984 Orwellian tyranny.
Yeah, the next speaker is Susie Smith. Susie, if you could make your way to the front, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Susie? Okay. That concludes the folks that have signed up to speak. Would anyone Would anyone else like to address the city council? Yeah, make your way to the podium, please, and then just state your name for the record. If you have one of the blue forms, you can actually, just drop it off with Ms. Williams. Thank you. Yeah, good evening. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, council members and patriots. My name is Cheryl Metcalf, and I am here in support of Resolution 1776. And I would like to ask you to reevaluate your oaths to support our constitutional rights. And if it is possible, can I yield the remainder of my time?
No, the 3 minutes is per individual, so
Okay.
you can wrap up your thoughts.
Okay,
or-
that's it.
Okay.
We're not going away. We're growing in numbers. Thank you very much.
Would anyone else like to address the city council at the call to the public? Yeah, please just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Crystal Leffler. I am a disabled veteran who cannot even get care because I have PTSD and I cannot wear a mask. And the VA refuses to take care of me because I will not wear a mask. So that's one way I'm being violated. So I'm being violated. I know my rights as a disabled person, and I know I have civil rights, and I have constitutional rights, and all of them are being violated. And I know that you all took the same oath I did, and I'm willing to die to fight for my rights. I was willing to die to serve in the Army, and I'm still willing to. And I hope our country doesn't come to that point, that we end up in civil war because people that took an oath are not honoring their oath. You're not honoring the oath, the same oath I took. Because if you were, you would not be breaking our rights. I would have a right to go in the VA and get medical care. I would be able to go get my dental care. That as a 100% service-connected disabled veteran, I am entitled to, and I am being denied my care. What kind of country do I live in that I'm willing to sacrifice my life for all of you, and I'm not getting taken care of as a veteran? Do you really think you're honoring your oath if you're not standing up for people like me and our rights? We all have a right to have care and be taken care of, and have the right to not wear a mask if we cannot. We have a right to go into a business and be treated respectfully, not be attacked because we cannot wear a mask, or be denied even the right to go into a store because we're not going to wear a mask. And I've had my federal law, there's a federal law the ADA created to protect disabled people like me. Businesses are not honoring that law. The moment they tell me I have to wear a mask to come in their business, and they deny me the right to go in their business. So that's what I have to say. You're not honoring your oath, and I hope you'll start stepping up and honoring your oath for all of us.
Thank you. Okay, just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Good evening. I'm Dennis Murdoch. I can confirm that what she says is happening to other people because it happens to me too, the same exact story. I'm finishing off somebody else's things that they wanted to say. This coincides with what's happening to people in town right now. A lady at Staples confronted another lady because she did not have a mask on. This did start to get a bit heated, but the lady's husband got his wife away from the situation. This is only a couple of occurrences, but the point is they are growing in number and pretty soon escalating in severity, possibly injury or death. You see in the Bible 2 Timothy 1:7, God did not give us a spirit of fear, but rather of love, power, and sound mind. You are elected officials, are perpetuating this lie upon us. Your constituents and the population will at one point, because of the lack of truth and transparency, will take matters in their own hands if needed. Isn't it a shame that we, the people, have even discussed the use of a militia to have our constitutional rights instituted? You have sent police to businesses, churches for possible closures, and that scares the people because to think you can use authority in such a manner, tyranny is what we see, and that is appalling from citizens' point of view. We the people, as you can see by the folks here, we only want peace, safety, and simple lifestyle. Time today for you, it is time for you, our elected officials, to do the right thing, not the political right thing, but rather the true and right thing before God, who was the inspiration of our founding fathers used to make our Constitution.
You folks up there took an oath, and in that oath you swore you would uphold the Constitution, as did I when I served in our military. And part of that oath is to look at for our safety, to protect us truthfully. We know the tests are not accurate and the results are all hyped up. Not with this lie hoax about some pandemic that simply does not exist. So stop being a part of the fear problem, but rather stop the fear and the lies. You guys need to do the job we hired you to do, to control the fear that your citizens are now subject to. Respectfully submitted by Bob Bindles. And I can also add one more story of that. Last time I was here, I told you how I got surrounded literally by 15 plus people and they wished death upon me. And then a couple minutes later, I had a guy put his hands around my throat and said he was going to kill me. And this is in a grocery store at 11:30 in the morning. And then last Friday, when we went to a rally in Kingman, we picked up a lady named Karen at Human Being, and I went up and approached this truck with two guys in it and asked them if they were aware that there might be a second lockdown. And the guy said, "Stand back 6 feet now." And I'm like, doesn't have a mask on. I'm like, why is he being so angry and mean? Like everybody, unfortunately. And then he starts spouting how his mom died from COVID. And he's wanting to open the door and try saying he's going to kill me. And I didn't say anything except, do you know about the possible second lockdown? And his friend said, stop. You know your mother didn't die from COVID. That's just what it was on the death certificate. You know darn well she didn't die from that. He
Thank
got
you,
out of the
Dennis.
car
Thank
and
you.
he
Your time is up.
walked 30 yards to try to kill me. This is what's happened in this town. I've been attacked 2 times in 3 weeks. This needs to
Thank you,
stop.
Dennis. Yeah. Would anyone else like to address the city council during the call? Yes, please. Yeah, just go ahead and state your name for the record.
How about John Doe? Anonymous?
No, you would need to state your name for the record.
I'm wearing a mask. You don't know who I am.
Yeah. Could you please state your name
You
for
see
the
the
record, sir?
point? You don't know who I am because I'm wearing a mask. Do you see the point?
Sir,
You don't know who you're confronting when you're walking down the street. You all are elected officials. You swore an oath. You have broke that oath. You need to, I call for your resignation immediately, all of you, for breaking your oath.
Yeah, so would anyone else like to address the city council during this time? Sir, you need to state your name for the 3 minutes. So your time is
They
up.
win.
I'm sorry?
They win.
Dave Win?
Day.
Dave Win.
Day. Like night and day. Look me up on Facebook.
Yeah. So
You'll be
please-
enlightened because
please-
you all are being lied to. Don't you see that? And you're breaking your oath by the stupidness you guys are perpetuating on everybody else. So I call for your resignation for breaking your oath on all of you. Do I have it? Do I have your resignation? Yes or no?
Sir, this is during the call to the public. We do not have a two-way conversation, but we appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Well,
would anyone else like
we
to
would
address
like
the
that
city council?
resignation immediately.
Yeah. Please just make your way to the podium and state your name. Good evening.
Hi, my name's Julie Aguilar, and I really had no idea I was going to come up here, but I'm a retired registered nurse. And about the masks, when I was in nursing, once a year, once every 2 years, we had to be fitted for masks for the N95s. When I see people buying masks for $1 for 2 of them at the Dollar General store, how is that going to help prevent a micron that is 0.0025 microns small when the mask will allow anything 1.0 microns in? That's one thing. The other thing is testing. I feel like we need to get rid of some of this testing. The PCR tests are so inaccurate, it's ridiculous. There's a thing called cycle threshold. They run the test numerous times. The longer they run those tests, the less effective they really are. From 25 cycle thresholds through 40, if they find one molecule of the virus, they consider it positive. that virus is dead. People have no idea they even have it. There's no symptoms, and there's no chance of people becoming infected when that cycle threshold is at 25 or better. The tests that we're doing, throughout the country, I would bet probably 25% of them might be positive. The rest of them are all negative. And this is what's causing such fear in this country that, everybody is so afraid of getting this. I've heard other people say, you can't, like, we went to a restaurant the other day. They wouldn't let us in because we didn't have a mask. Ace Hardware won't let you in because you have to wear a mask. We went to Big Five. They won't let us in because they have to wear a mask. These masks do nothing, absolutely nothing. When they test us for our mask I worked for Kaiser Permanente in Colorado. They went through a whole process to get these masks to fit. If you could smell one iota of an odor, they didn't fit. They have to be fitted. How many people do you see out here with the mask down below their nose or their chin, or they're not fitted? A 50-cent mask that maybe cost a penny to make is not going to protect someone from COVID. And they're using it to just scare the daylights out of people. So the mask is just ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Would anyone else like to address the city council during call to the public? Yeah, please just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record. Good evening and welcome.
Hello, my name is James Buckholtz, and I'm going to change the subject a little bit, and it's about our city streets. So, as all you guys right here, you elected officials, I would like to know who authorizes the people to do our city streets. Who picks these people to do the repair of our city streets? It's you guys, right? You guys all agree, hey, unanimously, they do a crappy job, period. All I can say is they came over on North Kiowa, and these people would come over one day and put a little tar in a crack, and our cracks are this big, and they put a little tar in there, and then blow gravel onto our sidewalks on our side. On my side, I have sidewalks. I take care of them sidewalks. People walk there. They blow that debris all on there, and I got to redo that. I just want to know, if you guys are doing this, how many of you guys are actually going out and looking at their work? Any of you? I know 2 of you are new. So are any of you going out and looking at their work? The city manager, are you looking at their work? I guess that's a no. I would like for you guys to step up to the plate, do your job, and go out and actually see what's going on and say, I'm not using you guys ever again. Take them off the list. And that's all I got to say. I'm just a little upset about it. Tar's all over the place on my car. And you guys need to do your job, step up, and go and actually look and see what they're doing. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Yeah, would anyone else? Yeah, sir, just go ahead and state your name for the record. Good evening.
My name's John Painter, and I'm going to change the subject back. Very simply, we don't feel like you have our back. We all know this is a scamdemic. We know the virus is real. We know the masks don't work. It's against our constitutional rights to force the things. So it's not so much as what you're doing as we're trying to get you to not, from here on, do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please just make your way to the front and state your name for the record, please.
I didn't think I was going to do this. Thank you for listening to me, Yolanda Bindles. I'm here as a newly citizen to Lake Havasu, replant from California. We moved out of California because I didn't feel safe. I have a CCW in California. I have a CCW here in Arizona. I do carry. I moved here because we felt safe. Lately, I have not been feeling safe. I have been feeling like I have to carry again. I don't want to carry. I'd rather go out of my house, go to the grocery store, and not worry about being mugged or told I have to wear a mask. If that was a point system, I should have stayed in California where I had to carry because you never knew when you were going to get mugged. Well, here it's turning out like that. Your city that you don't probably see is turning into a very violent city out there where I fear for my life now. I don't want to wear a gun. I don't want to. That's why I left California, so I didn't have to carry. I'm a business owner also. I carry lots of money, and that is one reason why I carried a gun. Here, I thought I was moving to a safe city, but now I don't feel that way anymore, guys. I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council during the call to the public? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the in-person call to the public. We are accepting feedback from citizens via email at cityclerk@lhcaz.gov 1 hour prior to the meeting. And Ms. Williams, I believe we have one to read into the record.
Yes, one comment was received on December 7th, 2020, with a subject line of current topics. To the mayor and city council, Lake Havasu City, I was hoping to attend the next council meeting and make this request before the council in person. Since meetings have been canceled, here is my request to the mayor and council. I respectfully request that the mayor and city council reinstitute a mask mandate for the city of Lake Havasu. I realize that the council is concerned for the economic livelihood of the city. In response, I would be shopping in stores more, browsing in stores more, buying more stuff, and spending more money in our stores if I felt safe in the store environment. Yes, the stores may post a wear a mask poster outside the store, but the reality is store management doesn't enforce the request. Who wants to get assaulted by a customer? And too many people are in defiance and ignorance regarding the benefit of wearing a mask. There is scientific data to support the need to wear a mask. As you well know, I hope the council will show courage and concern for the citizens of Lake Havasu and do one thing you can do to put us on a path toward community health and economic viability. Thank you. Submitted by Tony Bayer.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time and move on to the next item on the agenda. Item 6 is the selection of the vice mayor. City code outlines the process for selection of the vice mayor, which is the first meeting of the month, the first meeting in December each year. So we'll go ahead and bring it into council. Vice Mayor David Lane has been the vice mayor for the last 2 years, actually, voted on again last year. Now I'd open up to the council for discussion or motion for vice mayor.
If I may?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I want to thank the council for the last 2 years. You have selected me to be your vice mayor. And I truly appreciate the time that I've had to be able to do this. Mayor, I've been your vice mayor since you became the mayor. We've worked well beside each other, and I truly appreciate that. I appreciate all the support that I've gotten from the public. I am called on regularly, and I truly appreciate that. With all that said, I'm going to let them quiet down a little bit. Thank you. Okay, so with that said, I truly am a big believer in change, and I do believe that it is time for me to step aside and let somebody else step up and work alongside you as a vice mayor. And so we have 2 new council members, and then we have 3 other council members that have some time. I think in times like this, having somebody that has some experience and has been on the council for a while, I think it'd be great to have somebody new with some experience to step up and be your vice mayor. I would like to nominate Council Member Jenny Koch if she would be willing to accept the position. And I'm springing this on her right now. She has no idea I was going to do this to her.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor Lane. Do we have a motion on the floor? Do we have a second for Councilmember Koch? And then we'll have a discussion to see if she's willing to serve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilmember Dolan. We do have a motion and a second. Councilmember Koch, are you willing to serve in the capacity as Vice Mayor for this next year?
I would be honored.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. All right, we do have a motion from Vice Mayor Lane. I'm going to have to change the way I say all this, from Vice Mayor Lane to nominate Councilmember Koch for Vice Mayor for the next year. We have a second from Councilmember Dolan. Is there any further discussion from the council? If not, we are ready to vote. And Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-0.
Excellent. Thank you. Congratulations, Vice Mayor Koch. And thank you, Councilmember Lane, for your leadership over the last 2 years. Okay, we'll move on to item 7 on the consent agenda. And excuse me, item 7 is the consent agenda. Would any of our council members like to remove any items for separate discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion?
Yes.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Koch and a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 8, correspondence, communications, petitions, announcements in the city manager report. Item 8.1 is the Go Lake Havasu Tourism Bureau annual update. Mr. Knutson, if you would like to introduce that item for us.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. With us this evening is Terrence Concannon. Him and his team with Go Lake Havasu are here to present the council with their annual report, and they're here to talk about all the great things that they've done over the course of the last 12 months and all the good things that are on the horizon. So with that, I'll introduce Mr. Terrence Concannon.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to come here and speak to council, and I wanted to be at least the first person today to let you know that I appreciate everything you've done to keep this community safe during this very challenging year. So today I present you from Go Lake Havasu, our 2020 State of the Tourism Industry in Lake Havasu City. Obviously, tourism is our main industry here, and it's something that we put a great deal of importance into. And so, go ahead. I'm here to tell you that the state of tourism is very strong in Havasu. As you can see, our fiscal 2021 revenue is 30% year over year. If we look at the calendar year, which includes our COVID months with the shutdown, we're still up 12% year over year. Our current bed tax numbers, 25% year, but the restaurant and bar tax have stayed down and are a little bit below last year. I do hope that we can make that up before the end of the year. I did want to briefly outline our COVID response from Go Lake Havasu, and I'll just go through this very briefly. It's not something we talked about, but it's something that we felt very strongly about. In March, when Governor Ducey announced a shutdown, we closed down, of course, the Lake Havasu City Visitor Center, and we also shut down all of our advertising in all primary, secondary, and tertiary markets, and all call to action marketing. We repositioned all of our social media messaging to comfort content. In other words, we did things like we chalked our walks, and we put hearts on windows and things like that, and showed our visitors and our residents how we battle back against something like this that attacks our community. Our staff began working remotely, and at the same time, we began doing things remotely. We live streamed Havasu positive content. We live streamed Jan Cassie's tour of the London Bridge for school children, and we also did a country concert with our own Matt Ferris. And we continued in April with fun and positive social media engagement while encouraging our visitors to stay home and stay healthy. We also worked diligently and daily with event organizers to advise and minimize our risk. And in May, our staff returned to their offices. Also in May, I commissioned a post-COVID study of our recent visitors. This is in partnership with other research that I'll show you later on, so we can understand what our visitors expect from us and what they can expect from, what we can expect from them when the COVID-19 pandemic has ended and we are welcoming guests back. Our advertising efforts in May returned with a massive Phoenix campaign, and all images and videos in advertisements were edited to show socially distanced activities. All television advertisements had a scroller below that said all of these items were filmed before the pandemic. Please stay home and stay healthy. Visit golakehavasu.com for more information. In June, we reopened the Visitor Center with no volunteers, and we still have a very limited amount of volunteers. The reason for that is they're all very high at risk, and I don't want anything to happen to them, and I wouldn't sleep ever at night and look at myself in the mirror if anything happened to my dear volunteers at the Visitor Center. We have very stringent health requirements that we will continue at the Visitor Center until such time as there is a vaccine in the city, including mandatory masks in the Visitor Center. In July, we closed down, again, all advertising and all hard sell marketing because our COVID cases were skyrocketing. And we, again, repositioned our social media to encourage health and safety. But in September, when our numbers started to go down, our advertising efforts returned with a very subdued Southern California campaign and another Phoenix campaign in the interests of the Boys and Girls Club of Maricopa County. Our partnerships were integral to our COVID recovery, and we have nothing but wonderful things to say about Matt Brewster and his team at the Lake Havasu Hospitality Association. Also, our friends at the Partnership for Economic Development. Havasu Helps Hospitality raised over $60,000 between our two organizations and contributing businesses and individuals to help. I think we gave out over something like 8,500 vouchers feeding 1,400 individuals. In the hashtag Open Together, we worked with the Partnership for Economic Development to let our guests and our residents know what they can expect of the restaurants now that they reopened and what the restaurants can reasonably expect from our guests to ensure the safety, their safe experience at the restaurant. We got certified. So Lake Havasu Visitor Center is now a certified autism center. That means that our staff is fully certified as certified autism travel professionals. We can recognize a meltdown. We can recognize problems that might happen with someone on the spectrum and the problems that are experienced by their caregivers, and we can address those problems. In the Lake Havasu Visitor Center, we are trained, and we do have a quiet room if there is a case of a meltdown by a person on the spectrum. All of our team members have also been certified safe, and we safeguard all from exploitation. This is a human trafficking initiative, and we're very proud to be one of the first organizations to be fully certified, and we have in fact communicated this and these links out to our stakeholders. As you can see, our digital outreach has never been stronger. Our website engagement is up 18% year over year with 2.3 million page views and 148 online hotel bookings totaling over $60,000 for our lodging stakeholders. And our social media engagement is also up year over year. As you can see, the numbers are right there. Twitter, 212%, and then right below it, Pinterest is even. So some of our marketing and media highlights, I think last year I had like 50 slides that showed you all the different places we'd been and all the magazines. Very proud of that. This year I kind of put it down to 2 slides. LA Times, Forbes, Reader's Digest, El Universal in Mexico, 4 of the largest publications that we were in. All of our messages have been consistent and positive, and I've even had the pleasure of being interviewed about our positive tourism response. We've had strong campaigns in Phoenix and LA, increased international coverage, and as you can see, we've had a lot of fun things come to town. Now, we didn't have much to do with hot water. We did give a little bit of advice in the beginning, but that was all Larry Rippon Kroger, so good on him for that. We had Ghost Adventures come and talk about our haunted London Bridge, and then, as you're well aware, we did have MTV here for the last several weeks, occupying the nautical. We won a couple of awards, very proud of this one in particular. We are the recipient of the 2020 Hermes Creative Gold Award for our advertising campaign, Find Your Element in Arizona's Playground, Earth, Air, Water, and Fun. This one is particularly, I'm proud of, is because this concept, even though it was enacted and administered by our agency of record, Madden Media, this particular idea was an in-house creative idea that was come up by my staff. And it happened in 2019, but I haven't talked to you since then. In 2020, we actually won the award of the Crowd Rift Sea Tourism Film Festival. We made the short list for Best Tourism Film. We also did some research, and I'm hoping to appear before this board, this council again, to talk about it. We did our 5-year overall visitor study. I also commissioned an excerpt from that for commercial air service so we could understand. I really need some water. I'm sorry. Thank you, City Manager Newsom. And I also commissioned a post-COVID attitude study. So again, we could understand what it is that our guests expect from us. This is something I'm really proud of. We had the same visitor center for decades, and now not decades, but years. We reimagined it this year. As you can see from these few pictures that I put up there, it is spacious. It now takes our visitors on a journey. The journey starts at the front door, takes you on a very organic journey through the history, through the area, through the bridge, through the fun things that we have to do, through our beautiful surroundings. I am so proud of this. One of the reasons I'm so proud of this is not simply because we reimagined it. It's because all of the design, everything you see in that building came from our Director of Creativity, Tara Watkins, and also Jan Kassis, our Director of Visitor Services. I could not be prouder of my team, and specifically this is very much what we're all about, creating better experiences for everyone. Well, we're known for having our events in this town, and obviously we didn't have very many events this year. It was an uneventful year, but two good things happened. We did sign an historic agreement with the IJSBA to make Lake Havasu the home of the World Finals through 2029. I'm very, very proud of that. And we also had an agreement. We also made an agreement with SWAT to make Lake Havasu City its spring break headquarters through 2024. The COVID is one thing that really helped us with that. Obviously, when we get a vaccine and travel comes back, it will come back. But international travel will come back much, much slower. And so SWAT saw the writing on the wall, and they decided to stay domestic and stay in Havasu, because this is where we're willing to work with them. So look at these partnerships and new programs we come. One of the best things I did this year was hire Reagan Ross Robertson, who is our Director of Community Programs, and she has put together amazing partnerships and provided us with new programs that not only change what we are from a destination marketing organization. We're actually a destination management organization officially now because of some of the things that we're doing. So these are just some of the programs. We've taken over the Certified Tourism Ambassador Program so that the Lake Havasu Hospitality Association can adhere better to their mission. We're very proud of that. We've brought in programs for food culture education, customer service training, compliance clinics. We helped with the first annual restaurant week. We're now helping with First Fridays, the farmers market, the first youth market, something I couldn't be more excited about. And in fact, if you want to go to the next slide, I'll show you probably the cutest picture I've ever seen in my life is that youth market, community youth market picture, and that adorable girl selling something. It was such a great event, and it's great to see our young people be so empowered by such a wonderful thing. We also gave sponsored seaplane rides for our veterans on Veterans Day, a great deal of fun. Whether you're a veteran or not, take a seaplane ride. I took one myself, and it was an absolute thrill. And of course, Farmers Markets and First Fridays are two events that we can't wait. Farmers Market's still ongoing, but we can't wait to see the return of First Fridays. So again, to wrap up, the state of our tourism industry is strong. I'm very proud of the work that Go Lake Havasu has done, but I'm also proud of the city and the community that you guys help to provide. Obviously, Go Lake Havasu would be nothing without its community and without its residents. And I will state for the record, as I always do, that the number one customer and the number one concern of Go Lake Havasu is its residents. Our customers, not the visitors, our customers, the residents, making this a better community. So I've got just one more thing to show you. It is video. And this is a video that Tara Watkins, again, our Director of Creativity, put out right when we started to shut down. And you guys have heard me say this before. It's just the network of images and music that she uses. I'll probably start bawling my eyes out any minute. This is only a 20-second video, but please take a look. One more thing I'd like to say as we wrap up. One of my employees came down with COVID, and it hit him very, very, very strongly. And he was very sick with 4 infections and had to go through 5 courses of antibiotics in the hospital. And I just want to say how much Go Lake Havasu and our staff members appreciate everything that Havasu Regional Hospital did for Mr. Jason Castellucci, and how happy we are that he's healthy now and back working with us in the office. So again, thank you guys for everything you do to make this city what it is, everything you do to make this community a great, appealing destination for everyone. As long as you guys can do that, I'm sure we'll be successful. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Terrence. Yeah, do any members of the council have any questions for Terrence? All right, thank you, Terrence. Yeah, we appreciate the partnership and value of the relationship, Terrence, that you and your team are doing. So thank you so much. All right, moving on to item 8.2 is announced vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. Ms. Williams?
Mayor and City Council, there are several vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. The following is a listing of those vacancies. Airport Advisory Board, 1 alternate pilot member. Board of Adjustment, 4 regular members, and 3 alternate members. Applications are available at City Hall, and they are also available on the city's website at www.lhcaz.gov. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item 8.3 is the city manager's report. Mr. Knudsen?
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. I'd like to start with some sad news. It's with great sadness that I announced the passing of one of our valued employees, Jeff Cook. Jeff was our GIS administrator and did some many amazing things for the city over the last several years. Last couple of years, he worked for the city. Great things for the organizations and great things for the community. Really took a fledgling GIS system and turned it around to something that we could be very proud of. His passing was not work related, was not COVID related, but I wanted to point out that Jeff was a tremendous employee and really a genuine person. And so I want to thank him and let him know that he'll be missed. Moving on, I'd like to talk about our milestone employees. Each year we reach out and have show our appreciation for our milestone employees. Our milestone employees are the employees that have their either a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, so forth anniversary with Lake Havasu City. And this year we recognize 60 of our employees that reached the milestone, and that represents 730 combined years of service to Lake Havasu City and to the community. And so I'd like to recognize these employees fairly quickly, but we're proud to have them as employees with Lake Havasu City. We'll see here some of our 5-year employees, including Trina, Tanya, Marcella, David, and Kathy. We also have celebrating our 5-year anniversaries is Sean, Patrick, Courtney, Colleen, and Erica. Allison, Lynette, Paul, Devin, and Stephanie, thank you for your service to Lake Havasu City. Brent Skanke, Dwayne, Ryan Boyd, Jason Nutt, and Derek Johnson, thank you for your service to Lake Havasu City. And our last 5-year milestone employees, this is Christian, Jacob, Edward, Amber, and Rhiannon. Again, thank you. Our 10-year milestone employees, we have 8 of them, including Mark, Richard, Dale, Eric, and Albert. And we also have Kyle, Scott, and John. Again, thank you for your service and for your 10 years with Lake Havasu City. Celebrating 15 years with Lake Havasu City this year, we have 14 employees. They include Daryl, Jason, Terry, Sean, and Justin. We also have Joshua, Eric, Lynn, Richard, and Jerry. We have Charles, Brian, Ed, and Sophia, also celebrating 15 years with Lake Havasu City. Thank you for your service and your dedication to the community and the organization. We have 5 employees that are celebrating 20 years with Lake Havasu City. And these employees are Maria, Robert, Stacy, William, and Christopher. Thank you so much for what you've done for Lake Havasu City. We have 5 employees who are celebrating 25 years with Lake Havasu City. And this is Tom, David, Craig, John, and Mark. Some dedicated faces and employees over the course of the year. They're recognized as valued employees for Lake Havasu City. And lastly, and certainly not least, we have 3 employees that are celebrating 30 years with Lake Havasu City this year. Tony Rebello, Brent Morris, and Jeff Kemp. So fantastic, 30 years of service to Lake Havasu City. Thank you for to all of our employees for their dedicated service to Lake Havasu and to better our community and our surroundings. I'd like to further recognize, now he is also a 5-year milestone employee this year, but Officer Brent Skanke received a plaque courtesy of the Kiwanis Club of Lake Havasu City for being selected by his peers at the police department as the 2020 Police Officer of the Year Award recipient. So I'd like to thank Ms. Whitaker, with president of the Kiwanis Club and the Kiwanis Club itself, and of course, congratulations to Brent. Nice job. Mayor, you and members of the council attended the Radio Central's 40th annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony at Wheeler Park recently. The event included Christmas carols, hot chocolate, cookies, Christmas stories, and of course, social distancing. Mayor Sheehy, you lit the tree and read "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" to the crowd. With the fire department's assistance, we had Santa Claus also made an appearance to visit with the kids. The cute kids on the bottom right corner are our fire chief, Peter Palafis's kids, who said they had a great time and had a lot of fun that night. Some fun pictures. Our mayor, you mentioned earlier with Councilmember Lynn's absence. She wasn't here tonight because her son Chen Chen became a U.S. citizen today. Chen Chen came to the United States at the age of 9 in 2012, and now he's a United States resident. Congratulations to Chen Chen. Council member David Lane, you presented a proclamation to John Steele in honor of his 95th birthday. John, an Army World War II veteran, loves many things, including music, dancing, horses, and all outdoor activities, with camping being his favorite. John is described as being positive, doesn't know a stranger, and his motto is "Every day is the best day ever." So happy birthday to John, and I think Councilmember Lane, you promised you'd be there in 5 years to celebrate his 100th birthday as well, too.
I did. We made a deal.
Okay.
If he'll be there for his 100th birthday, I'll be there for his 100th birthday.
Perfect. And lastly, my report on the update of COVID cases since March. All this information is provided by the Mojave County Public Health Department as of December 7th in most instances. At least the chart represents the data as of December 7th. The total number of cases in Lake Havasu City has increased by 430 since my last report, and you can see the breakdown by month in the graphic shown. We've had 270 cases in the first 7 days of December, averaging 39 cases per day this month. We currently have 414 individuals that are now in self-quarantine. Of concern is the capacity expressed by hospitals throughout Arizona. This is not isolated to Lake Havasu City, but the Mojave County Department of Public Health does a survey of the 4 hospitals in the county. So this is indicative of the 4 hospitals in Mojave County. We have 2 out of the 4 are reporting to the county that they are in caution status due to limited number or no IC beds available at this point. So that is something to be cognizant about. Last week, Governor Doug Ducey announced a series of meaningful actions to fight the spread of COVID-19 in Arizona, to support our hospitals and frontline healthcare workers, and provide the state's hard-hit restaurants with resources needed to keep patrons and staff healthy and safe and to keep our businesses open. You can visit the governor's website, or you can go to Lake Havasu City's website, and we have links to the executive orders that came out just last week. As individuals, we must make the right personal decisions to slow the spread of the virus and support our healthcare professionals and our frontline workers. Mayor and Council, with that concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions if needed.
Thank you, Mr. Knudsen. Are there any questions of Mr. Knudsen?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Dolan.
I just want to thank the city manager for including the information regarding the status of the hospitals. Unfortunately, I feel like that's a talking point that we tend to leave out, how many cases, all this stuff, but it all comes down to if there's no room in the hospitals, that's the healthcare crisis we're truly facing. So I just want to appreciate him for bringing that point up, as that's a talking point that tends to get missed in these conversations. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dolan. All right, we'll move on to item 9, which is our public hearings. We'll start with item 9.1, which is a Series 7 beer and wine liquor license for Grapes and Grains, 2144 McCulloch Boulevard North. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, Jennifer Lynn Witten has applied for a Series 7 beer and wine bar liquor license for Grapes and Grains located at 2144 McCulloch Boulevard North All posting requirements have been met, all fees have been paid, and no objections were received. The location is properly zoned for a Series 7 liquor license. Happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also here tonight to answer any questions that the council may have.
Great, thank you. Do any members of the council have any questions on this item? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We are receiving public input via email at cityclerk@lhcaz.gov, and we did not receive any for this item, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council.
Mayor,
Yeah, Vice Mayor Koch?
motion?
Yes, please.
I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control approve a Series number 7 beer and wine bar liquor license for Grapes and Grains, 2144 McCulloch Boulevard North.
Mayor, I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Koch and a second from Councilmember Moses. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item 9.2 is adopt ordinance number 20-1245, amending the zoning classification and district boundary for 6800 Chenoweth Drive, APN 120-03-064 from AP Agriculture Preserve District to I Industrial District. Mr. Morris?
Yes, Honorable Mayor and council members, thank you. I'm going to share my screen with you here. All right, thank you. As you mentioned, this is a request to rezone property on Chenoweth Drive, Chenoweth Road. The subject property is about just over 9 acres. It's located on Chenoweth Road, the north side of town, about a half mile east of the Lowe's home improvement store there. The property surrounding it, the property to the north and south are both vacant, open land. The properties adjacent to the east and west are both open storage. The current zoning is agricultural preserve, that's AP. That's in this area of town, that's like a default zoning. When the area was annexed in, that was the closest zoning district the city had that was comparable to the county's zoning. So you'll see a lot of these areas are zoned AP. So what happens is someone wants to come in and develop it, something that would be more than what's allowed at AP, which is not a whole lot because it's agricultural preserve. In this case, they're asking to rezone it from AP to industrial, which is the highest zoning that we have, most intense. The area around it to the south is zoned AP, but on the east and west, north, abutting the property, it's already zoned industrial. They, in their letter of intent, they didn't list specific use, but they'd be allowed to do any of the uses allowed in the industrial zoning district. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at their November 4th meeting. The recommended approval unanimously, a vote of 5-0. And that concludes my presentation. I believe the applicant is in attendance also. I'm open to any questions you may have myself. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Morris. Do any members of the council have any questions on this item? All right, seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We are taking written comment as well, but we have not received any written comment for this item. So we'll bring it back to council.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Lane?
Motion.
Yes.
I move to adopt ordinance number 20-1245, rezoning the property at 6800 Chenoweth Drive, APN 120-03-064 from Agricultural Preserve District to Industrial District.
I'll second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Lane and a second from Councilmember Moses. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item 9.3 is adopt ordinance number 20-1246, amending the zoning classification and district boundary for the portion of 2301 Cup Drive, tract 2319, block 2, lot 13A, as shown on the parcel map 37-11 from Golf Course District to RE Residential Estates. Mr. Morris?
Yes, Honorable Mayor and council members, thank you again. This subject property, this is a similar request to other requests we've had, about a half dozen or so of these that involve property that's been purchased from the golf course and been added to a residentially zoned lot. And this helps clean up and make the golf course property rezone it to the residential zoning district. The subject property here is obviously adjacent to the golf course. I'll zoom into the zoning map here. It's at the corner of Fringe and Cup, the northeast corner of Fringe and Cup. The existing residential property is zoned RE, residential estate. And of course, the portion that was purchased from the golf course is zoned golf course zoning. Here's something that shows more detail. The existing RE zone is shown here. And then the portion that was purchased from the golf course is shown in green here. These lots, this portion that's been purchased from the golf course has been joined to the RE zone property. It's now one piece of property. And then furthermore, the council approved abandonment of a 10-foot utility that ran across the back of the original RE zone property. So that's gone, and now this is one big piece of property, but it has two zoning districts. The portion that was golf course, zoned golf course, the portion that is the residential zone is zoned RE. So this cleans that up, makes it all one piece of property with the same zoning, and that would allow them to do any of the uses and setbacks that are allowed in the RE zoning district. And again, the Planning Commission heard this on November 4th and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. And I believe the applicant is in attendance via Zoom. Staff is here to answer any other questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Do any members of the council have any questions for Mr. Morris or the applicant? No? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And again, we are taking written comment via email prior to the meeting, and we have not received any public comment on this item. I'll bring it back to council for discussion or a motion.
Mayor,
Yeah, Vice Mayor Koch?
motion?
Yes.
I move to adopt ordinance number 20-1246, amending the zoning classification and district boundary for the portion of 2301 Cup Drive, tract 2319, block 2, lot 13A, as shown in parcel plat map 37-11 from Golf Course District to Residential Estates District.
Mayor, second.
Yeah, excellent. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Koch and a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 9.4 is adopt resolution number 20-3463, revising resolution number 20-3438, suspending park rental fees by including suspension of certain expansion of premise and temporary use permit fees to expand outdoor seating opportunities to allow for adequate social distancing. Mr. Knudsen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you is a draft resolution that, if adopted by council, would suspend fees for applicants that would be going through a process for the use of the park. And if you recall, a few months back, the council approved a resolution that would waive those fees for park use. That was in direct response to some of the closures we saw with some of the gyms and fitness clubs and different activities within the community. So we wanted to open up our parks for that type of use if needed. We had a handful of clubs, individuals, groups, businesses that did benefit from that. And that was set to expire on December 31st. So as part of this resolution, which would continue that indefinitely or up into the point of the cancellation of the proclamation declaring the existence of a local emergency. And as part of this resolution, you'll see too is the waiving of fees for the expansion of premises and for the temporary use permit fees, all of which would be designed to encourage outdoor seating opportunities. So we'd have businesses that would expand their dining rooms essentially, or their eateries, which also allow for cashier activities, other activities tied to the operation of a restaurant or a business to outdoor activities. So we are encouraging the restaurants, the businesses to do just that. And if they take advantage of that opportunity by applying through the process with the city, this resolution would waive those fees, which can range depending on the time frame from anywhere from about $100 to about $400 for each request, kind of depending on the situation that does occur. So this would allow for that to happen. I'd like to, we've had some requests coming from the public. We've seen some best practices in other communities, and we see some opportunities for our restaurant industry in Lake Havasu City to take advantage of this. Would like to thank Reagan Ross with Go Lake Havasu and Matt Brewster, who also reached out and talked about the importance of the city taking on this type of this type of resolution that would waive the fees and encourage this type of behavior for the restaurants and our patrons in Lake Havasu City. With that, I can answer any questions or that you might have.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Knudsen. Yeah, this is I feel like we need to do anything we can to help our business community expedite, cut red tape, to allow them to innovate and do what it is they do best. So I'm very pleased that this resolution is in front of us today. Do any members of the council have any questions for Mr. Knudsen or thoughts or comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Lane.
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate your comments. I think this is a great thing if we can help our local businesses by them being able to expand their footprint so that they continue in business. And also, to add on to that, I understand the governor yesterday came out with some dollars that businesses can apply for to help them come up with a business plan to be able to do this. So I think it would be very, very helpful for our local businesses. So I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Yeah, businesses that are interested in that information can go to the governor's website. There's grants up to $10,000 per restaurant to expand patio, outdoor accommodations for this process. So, and the businesses would apply directly through the governor's office or the Arizona Commerce Authority. Any other comments or questions before we? Yeah, Mr. Knudsen.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, so this is we kind of thanks to Stuart Schmeling, his team, Kelly Gary and her team, and Kelly Williamson and her team for taking the use permit is typically happens through the Development Services Department. The extension of premises typically occurs through the clerk's office. So we wanted to create a new process, a new form, and if those that would like to take advantage of this opportunity in the community can go to our website. There's a brand new form that's out there. They can look under the Development Services Department, or probably more conveniently, if they go to our COVID page, there's a link right at the top of the page that'll take you right to the application form. Okay.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, the intent is to make this as easy and as quick as possible for our businesses that want to take advantage of this. So, all right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Yeah, please just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Bill Mitchell, resident of Lake Havasu. I had a point of clarification I'd like to find out about. You'd mentioned that there is money available from the governor for this. I was wondering, is that money tied to compliance with mask mandates and things like that? Are there any strings attached to the money, or is it the money strictly to help them expand their outdoor businesses? Because I've known that a number of businesses talk to me about having to sign some sort of a compliance thing that says that they will comply with mask mandates and things like that in order to reopen and do things like that. And I was wondering if there was anything like that that was dependent.
Yeah, sure. So looking through the grant application information that was loaded on the website of the governor's office, they have to show, the businesses that take advantage have to show that they have an application for an extension of premise. So in order to get the money, but no mitigation strategies are tied to that. So
okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hi, good evening.
Just real quick, on the Arizona Commerce Authority, there is a link that we can put that application, that simple application, so restaurants can easily find it. And it actually does link back to the governor's executive order as well. And then on behalf of Go Lake Havasu and the Hospitality Association, whatever we can do to help get that message out to the restaurants that that's available, we're willing to help. And I don't know with planning and zoning if parklets are available or not. I was actually in Kingman yesterday because we had to decorate a cabin in the Wallapies Mountains, and they have parklets along their main street, and so a lot of restaurants don't have that ability to expand their, could be tight or in a strip mall or something like that. So happy to help, however, if we can expand on parklets. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
I don't know if this idea would fit for Havasu, but like I said, I traveled through 18 states this last summer. Walla Walla in the state of Washington, that was some pretty good lockdown. And what they had done in Walla Walla is they shut down some streets and then they opened it up for outdoor dining. There were restaurants along those streets. So they blocked the streets from traffic and the restaurant operators put out their tables and people were able to eat outside because the restaurants themselves were closed. But just food for thought, if there's any opportunity for Havasu, that could be a consideration.
Great, yeah, thank you. Yeah, the intent of the city is obviously to see what the demand is from the restaurant and eatery industry, and then obviously be very flexible to allow them to be successful. So that's what the intent of this whole resolution is. But thank you for the comments. Would anyone else like to address the city council during this public hearing? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. We are accepting written comments. We did not receive one for this item, so I'll bring it back to council for any further discussion or questions or a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Dolan,
I'd like to make a motion.
please.
I move to adopt resolution number 20-3463, revising resolution number 20-3438, suspending park rental fees, including suspension of certain expansion of premises and temporary use permit fees to expand outdoor seating opportunities to allow for adequate social distancing.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan and a second from Vice Mayor Koch. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-0.
Great, thank you. Item 9.5 is approve a cooperative purchase of services from Mythix Inc. for assessment of Oracle Fusion System annual maintenance and support for Oracle Fusion and cloud services utilizing Maricopa County's contract number 180233. Ms. Olson?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Staff is requesting approval of the cooperative purchase of services from Mythix Inc. for software licensing and software services related to our Oracle Fusion ERP system, which includes the financial system and the human resources system. There are 3 primary areas for this agreement. The first is an assessment phase associated with reviewing the system, seeing where we might be able to correct some configuration issues so that the system could work more properly. Second, it also provides for the maintenance and support for the ERP system. And finally, it includes the licensing of the software itself. This license with Mythix Inc. would replace all of the agreements previously held with Cherry Road Technologies for those services. Staff has worked with Oracle in order to select Mythix based upon their experience, on the positive reviews that we were able to see, and the technical skills that they've demonstrated with the Oracle Fusion project. So, the fiscal impact for the various services, the amount of the system assessment is $8,424. The licensing, which is the bulk of the cost, will be the annual cost will be $199,089, and the support services for support and maintenance is $66,240 for the first year as well. So With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Olson. Do any members of the council have any questions for Ms. Olson? Yeah, so Cherry Road, as we all know, was not being very helpful through this process. So, yeah, and that's saying it nicely. So, congratulations to Ms. Olson and her team for finding Mythics and being able to have the same impact to the budget, but actually get the job done. So, so great work. All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And again, we are receiving written comment, and we did not receive any written comment on this item. Bring it back to council for discussion or a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Lane?
Motion.
Yes.
I move to approve the cooperative purchase of services from Mythics Inc. utilizing Maricopa County's agreement number 180233 and authorize the city manager to execute the cooperative purchase agreement on behalf of the city.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane and a second from Vice Mayor Koch. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item 9.6 on the agenda this evening is to approve cooperative purchase of 2 Starcraft Starlight Ford Transit low-floor ADA buses from Creative Bus Sales utilizing Arizona State Contract ADSP 0/016-1202778. That item we're going to table for a future meeting. So at the last minute today, the vendor isn't prepared in the supply chain to be able to fulfill their agreement. So we'll bring that forward probably in a January council meeting based on discussions with the supply chain and the vendor. So we'll move on to item 9.7, which is approve the sole source purchase of Badger water meters from Badger Meter. Mr. Frosley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor and members of council, what this item is our annual purchase of residential water meters. You indicated this is a sole source approval. The Badger water meter was established as the city standard several decades ago, so we're continuing with that standardization this evening. What you may not know is of the 33,000 or so residential water meters we have in our system, we have about 9,000 that are 15 years old or older, which causes us some concerns with the accuracy for them reading accurately. So what we've done is developed a rather robust water meter replacement program to start replacing some of those older meters. And that's really the reason why you see the request for a larger spending authority this evening. It's an asset management program to start replacing those 15-year-old meters, even 20-year-old meters that we have in our system currently. So like I said, our typical annual purchase for water meters, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Frosley. Any questions of the council? No? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Again, we are receiving written comment prior to the meeting, and we did not receive any for this item. I'll bring it back to council for discussion or a possible motion. And before we do that, just real quick on the fiscal impact, this is before us today because we intend to spend over $50,000 with this vendor in 1 year, but it is in the current budget and there's sufficient funds in that budget. But code outlines that we should have folks or any vendor that we spend over $50,000 with that we have to approve it. So with that, any comments or a motion?
Mayor.
Yeah, Vice Mayor Koch?
Motion.
Yes.
I move to approve the sole source purchase of Badger water meters from Badger Meter in the amount not to exceed $300,000.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Koch and a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item
Thank
nine-
you.
Thank you, Mr. Frosley. Item 9.8 is award bid for the backup water supply wells project to Stewart Brothers Drilling Company. Mr. Hart.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you today and present this exciting kind of phase 2 of our overall backup water supply source project. I thought before actually getting to the quick meat of why I'm here, which is to recommend award of the 2 wells being drilled to Stewart Brothers, just briefly give background to the council so that they understand kind of the overall picture, particularly with 2 new council members. It'll be brief, so just bear with me. So what we have here is back in, I believe it was 2010, we had a water master plan that was completed, and in 2018 we had a supplemental plan that was added to it. It was an addendum to it, and in that we looked at several things. One is the ability for the city to supply water to its residents, critical supply reliability needs, and then a 10-year capital improvement plan. As you may or may not know, the city has 2 water supplies, the first and main one being the horizontal collector well, which is on the island, and then the second supply is a series of 7 wells that are what we call the North Well Field, which when I originally saw that, I scratched my head because it's not really in the north. But at the time when they were being used, they were in the north, and the city has grown since then. So this focus of this project is should the horizontal collector well need to be shut off for maintenance, which it's been running well for us, but as we know, everything needs maintenance. So we need to be at a position where it can be shut down for a little while, and then this backup water supply with these wells that we have will be able to step in and supply the daily needs. As we looked and evaluated that, we brought in Jacobs Engineering, has been a great resource to the city to look at all of our wells and evaluate them, and we realized that 2 of our wells are no longer functioning, which we knew that, and are needed replacement. And so we started with them what I would call phase 1 of this project, which was to determine a location of where we could put 2 new wells to replace the existing 2 wells that were no longer in service. These are pictures of our current wells, well 18, well 14, well 10. You can see most of these wells lie there along London Bridge Road, very close to our water treatment plant and our Public Works maintenance facility. Existing well 18, it's about 2.2 million gallons a day. Existing well 14 is 1.6. Existing well 10 is 1.4. And with these 2 new wells that we'll be bringing in, they're going to be 1.4 to 2 million gallons per day, which will get us above our targeted capacity of 7.6 million gallons a day. So in phase 1, we looked at 5 locations where we could potentially do some exploratory drilling. Those locations were, fortunately enough, in our Public Works parking lot and in our water treatment plant yard facility down there. If you've ever been in a water treatment plant, it's quite large in terms of the actual area that we have. We drilled near the old well number 3. We actually drilled in the parking lot of the yacht club, and we drilled in the state park. So of those 5, we were very fortunate to determine that actually the location at the Public Works parking lot and the water treatment plant were very good candidates for going ahead and drilling these two wells for future use. So what we did was, as I explained there, working with Jacobs, once we determined those 2 locations, we came up with a well design, and Jacobs prepared the specifications and the bid docs, and we advertised that in hopes of us being able to select a drilling contractor. And I want to emphasize this is task 2. So task 3 will be coming back to you later, and that'll be for completion of the facility of the actual wells. This particular project is simply to drill the wells and put the casing in. We'll run some pump test flows to just make sure we are getting the capacity that we project we'll get, and then we'll build a facility and a pipeline, hopefully taking advantage of some of the existing down to the water treatment plant. So, and this part, as I was talking there, we hope to use some of the existing line to get that water down there. So right now we're at the spot to where we actually went out to bids, and the project itself is scheduled to take 5 months. Its anticipated completion is July 2021. Our engineer's estimate that we got from Jacobs was for $1,410,000, and the low bid, which is from Stewart Brothers, was $1,408,902. So they came in just under our bid, which is a good thing. There was a total of 5 bids, as you can see, and they range from anywhere to 1.408 to 1.773. We did our due diligence. We researched Stewart Brothers. We actually reached out to some of the government entities they've been involved with, and we've got a lot of good reports back on them and are excited to be able to bring them in and help us with this project. So there will be 2 wells. Each one will be drilled about 570 lineal feet, and the estimated capacity of each is between 1.4 to 2 gallons per minute. So we're excited that we got this bid and looking forward to getting this project started. Just to reiterate the locations, in the parking lot of the Public Works Building will be well 22, a new well number, and then there in the water treatment plant, well 23. Any questions?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Great presentation, and excited to be able to bring this forward. We've worked on it a long time, so we couldn't have been more fortunate for the location for the site. So that worked out really, really well. So questions, comments from council? Councilmember Lane?
I do have a question.
Yes.
How many years of service do you expect to get out of each of these wells?
That's a very good question. It's something we've talked about. 40 years of number has been thrown around, which seems quite long, but that's what they tell us we should expect, between 40 and 50. So
How long were the old wells in commission for?
they're currently between 30 and 40 years old.
And then I also had one other question, if I may. How long will these 2 new wells allow us to take down the horizontal, the Rainy well out in the?
My understanding is as long as we need.
Really?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, so that gives us true redundancy, which is fantastic. Great. Any other questions, comments from council? All right, this is a public hearing. We're getting close, Christine. Hang tight for a second. So this is a public hearing. If anyone would like to address the city council, we'll start with you, Christine Simmons, and just if you can move the mic down a little bit. Yeah, perfect.
I'm a little concerned about a well being dug next to the water treatment plant. I'm thinking about the chemicals that are used there. We're not worried about leaching. It just seems like there might be a better site in the long run. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we can address it. Mr. Knudsen, do you want to address that?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And then as far as the question, we're talking about the water treatment plant as opposed to the wastewater treatment plant. So this is actually where all of our water goes to the water treatment plant before it heads to the storage tanks, the distribution system, and then to our faucet. So that's where we want it to go. Yeah, you bet. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah, and would anyone else like to address? Yeah, Richard, if you just want to make your way to the podium.
Just a quick question. What's the quality of the water? When I first moved here, before they had the horizontal well, it was quite loaded with manganese off the old well system. And with the horizontal well shut down and these wells taking up the short end, are we going to get back to heavy manganese again?
No, we will not. We have actually upgraded our water treatment plant, and we now treat all the magnesium right there. It does a very, very effective job, so we should be fine.
Would anyone else like to address the council on this matter? Yeah, that was unsightly water back in the day when we turn on our pipes, but that was solved many years ago, thankfully. Yeah.
Mayor?
Yes, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Again, we are taking written comments, and we have not received any written comments on this item. Councilmember Moses?
Yeah, I'd like to move to award the base bid of the backup water supply project to Stewart Brothers Drilling Company.
I'll second that.
Excellent. We have a motion from Councilmember Moses and a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Moses, could you just check your screen and thank you.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Moving on to item 9.9 is award bid for the sale of city-owned property track 119B, block 7, lot 2A, located at 190 Hunter Lane to Renee Reneso, APN 108-18-193. Mr. Schmeling?
Thank you and good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is to award a bid for the sale of the city-owned property to a Mr. Rene Reynoso in the amount of $202,700. As you indicated, it's located on 190 Hunter Lane. It's a standard residential lot, about 0.8 acres. And the appraisal came in at $118,000. What's significant about this particular sale is that this is the first time that we have gone and sold the property on an online auction format. And obviously we did pretty well in this particular instance. We ran that auction from October 1st through November 2nd. We went through public surplus was the site we used. And by code, the revenues generated from these types of sales are designated for CIP projects or for an acquisition fund for the purchase of other property for municipal purposes. That is all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Schmeling. Does anyone have any questions from the council? Yeah, great job. The online system proved to be very beneficial for the taxpayers of Lake Havasu City, so fantastic work on that front. All right, with no questions or comments from council, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And again, we are accepting written comment prior to the meeting, and we did not receive any on this item. Bring it back to council for discussion or motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Councilmember Dolan?
motion.
Yes.
I move to award the bid for the sale of the city real property, 119B, Block 7, Lot 2A, APN 108-18-193, in the amount of $202,700 to Renee Reynoso.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan and a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. The mayor had to step out of the room for a minute, so I will be introducing item number 9.10. It's ID 20-2607, adopt ordinance number 20-1247, amending Lake Havasu City Code Title 14 zoning to include land use regulations for recreational marijuana in accordance with the Smart and Safe Arizona Act. Mr. Morris?
Yes, Honorable used to be Vice Mayor, Council Member Lane. This is difficult for staff to get used to now. Yes, thank you. We'll start this by actually, the city attorney is going to go over briefly the Smart and Safe Arizona Act that was recently adopted or approved by the voters. And so, Kelly, if you don't mind, would you please briefly explain the Smart and Safe Arizona Act?
Absolutely, Luke. Hey, do you want to go one more slide?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Yes.
okay. Or back one?
Are you seeing it now?
Yes, thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As now you are all well aware of the Smart and Safe Arizona Act, which was certified by the governor on November 30th. So now it is actually state law. It consists of 17 pages of text, so it's more than just the simple legalization of marijuana in this state. A couple things up on your screen. Obviously, it legalizes the sale and the adult use of marijuana within Arizona. It's necessary to obtain a license from the state in order to sell marijuana, retail or recreational marijuana. The state is required to create the rules to implement and enforce the act, and this will have to do with how everything is processed, how the applications go, what the fees will be,
safety measures, all of those types of things, all of those rules will be promulgated by the state, which we anticipate will come out in January. The city, out of those 17 pages, the little part that we get to regulate is half a page. So all we get to regulate is the reasonable zoning regulations to limit the land use for marijuana establishments and marijuana testing facilities. In doing so, we may not enact any regulation that is more restrictive than the comparable regulations that apply to the nonprofit medical marijuana dispensaries. With that, you'll see as Luke goes through his presentation that city staff is recommending that the city adopt regulations that mirror what we have in place currently for our nonprofit medical marijuana dispensaries. And so basically we've mirrored those in what we presented to the council tonight for consideration. And I'm going to turn it back over to Luke and let him go through his presentation.
Thank you, Kelly. Yes, as Kelly mentioned, this is actually an amendment to the development code, which is the land use section of the code. So all we're doing here is trying to take the existing medical marijuana regulations. That section, we're going to basically break it down into two subsections. One being the existing medical marijuana regulations, and then a new subsection for the recreational marijuana. So we're going to use the same baseline, the same code sections, basically lift them up and copy them and paste them into a new section for the medical regulation. You'll see in your packet there the tracked changes about showing any proposed changes and additions. So basically, the current regulations for land use has hours of operation limitation and also some distances that are required, distance requirements. So 1,000 feet from daycares or another marijuana facility, and then 500 feet from religious facilities or any residential use or residential district, a public park or recreation facility or playground, and any liquor license holder. So those are the same. Again, we're just taking the same medical marijuana regulations, lifting them, put them down for recreational marijuana. We have, of course, some new definitions for the new section. We have a definition, a three-part definition for marijuana establishment, and then one for marijuana testing. Those are both included in the new code sections. And here we have existing definitions for medical marijuana dispensary and medical marijuana cultivation facility. Those are not changing. One change is basically not a change, but we're going to, again, in our permitted uses table, we're going to, as Kelly mentioned, we're going to mirror medical marijuana dispensary, and we're going to allow marijuana establishments and marijuana testing facilities in the same zoning districts with basically the same separation requirements. And those two zoning districts are C2, which is general commercial, and LI, which is light industrial. So those are the only two zoning districts that are allowed for the development code with this proposal. So that kind of begs the question, okay, where are the commercial C2 and the light industrial zoning areas? So we have a series of zoning maps here, starting with the north part of town, the shopping center, the mall. That area is zoned C2. And then we go further down. One of the subject properties today was in the area there of Chenoweth and Victoria Farms Road. There's a node of industrial zoning there. And then along near Home Depot, that area is C2. And then we get down into the city proper, if you will. There's a large area of light industrial along Lake Havasu Avenue. And then across Highway 95, there's more light industrial and commercial. The light industrial is shown on these maps as orange, and the C2 commercial is shown in red. And then there's also some crosshatched C2 plan development zoning. So in these two areas are where the existing medical marijuana facilities are. There are two of them, one on on Lake Havasu Avenue and another one down on Industrial. And those are existing, and since we have the map here, we thought we'd show where the existing medical marijuana facilities are. And then we go further south along Lake Havasu Avenue on London Bridge Road. There's a strip of C2, and then along Mesquite and Lake Havasu Avenue, there's also some C2. And another area that has some C2 zoning is um, North McCulloch and Jamaica. That intersection near where the Elks Club is, in that area is C2. And then finally south on Sweetwater Avenue, the south end of town, there's some C2 zoning. Now, those are areas where there is C2 zoning, but of course, there are those separation requirements from things like daycares, religious facilities, parks, liquor license holders. So the areas that are zoned for that are zoned C2 and or light industrial, although the zoning may be there, they may not be meeting the requirements for the separation. So again, this is just a general overview of the zoning areas, but they don't necessarily mean that that would be allowed use in any or all those zoning districts. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item on November 18th at their meeting. They had a lengthy discussion about it. And then they initially had a motion to postpone this until the governor actually signed the act. The governor actually did sign that in November 30th, signed it earlier last month, or late last month. So it did get signed. So and the concern that came up during that meeting was that, hey, if we delay any sort of regulations or having something on the books, that kind of leaves the staff with less guidance in where we can allow these sorts of uses. And if we don't have anything on the books, then it would come down to the zoning administrator making a determination of where this should be allowed based on similar type uses. And we felt that was less than ideal. It'd be good to have at least some sort of framework in place so we know when someone comes forward with an application where they can and cannot be located. After a lot of discussion, the motion to postpone that failed at the Planning Commission, and then they recommended approval by a vote of 5-1 to adopt the proposed amendment as they're submitted to the council today. So with that concludes staff presentation. I'll open any questions you may have. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Morris. Thank you for the presentation. So what we have before us is the proposition that was passed by the voters of the state of Arizona, and our duty is to protect the integrity of neighborhoods through the one vehicle that we have, which is zoning. And the medical marijuana process has worked for us for the last several years, and went through a lengthy process. And then to mirror that, I personally anticipate now that it was about a 60% vote of the people of Arizona, I would anticipate in future years through the state legislature that they'll pass additional bills that will change the makeup of this. So what we're doing today would be the basic start of what this looks like, and then additional changes will be made into the future based on what may exist. Now, it's also my understanding that if a proprietor of recreational marijuana or a landholder that falls outside of some of these guidelines could go through a plan development process and potentially go through planning and zoning and then through council for approval. Is that correct, Mr. Morris or Ms. Gary?
Yes, the Honorable Mayor, council members, thank you. Yes, the plan development process is something that can be gone through to ask for an exception from the underlying zoning districts. So that includes many types. In the past, we've done uses, we've done height, we've done parking. So there's different, you can customize a lot of zoning through the plan development process. So it is something that may be available.
Perfect, thank you. So this is a starting point, but still allows folks that are in this business the opportunity to do what it is that they feel meets the criteria. But again, we know that this works and has been working, and I see this as the starting point of what the future may have when it comes to here. So any other questions, comments, thoughts from council members? Councilmember Campbell?
I have discussion.
Yes.
I personally disagree with putting retail and light industrial zoning, which does not accommodate high retail traffic. The voters have spoken. They want recreational marijuana, and we should consider allowing them to function as the retail business they are. You may not like the outcome, but the danger of retail with an area zoned for industrial, including semi-trucks, and the lack of light industrial that's available for our industrial workers, The semi-truck traffic could be dangerous to both industries. I believe putting restrictions on licensees similar to liquor license laws, which would be sufficient, or at best, waiting till the state law is completed. We need the proper data from state licensing boards to consider proper zoning, including design reviews, and guarantees retail will not impose constraints on the neighboring industrial uses. Protecting our city is my utmost importance. I've spoken with Congressman Biasucci, who absolutely agrees we need to put the brakes on this item until more information becomes available. I personally would like to take the time to investigate with congressmen and lawmakers confirming Lake Havasu City enforces the best policies moving forward. By the end of January, we could even see more extreme changes to this industry, and to proceed now could cause undue confusion for the future. Thank you.
Yeah, great, thank you. So the process that we have in front of us, there's certainty already there. It's a 17-page proposition. So Representative Biasucci does not have anything to do with that. That was brought forward by the industry in a proposition format. So the legislature in future or subsequent legislative sessions can bring forward legislation that might change this, but there's certainty on what this is and what's allowed. By doing this zoning action this evening, it gives certainty to the current operators and the recreational marijuana community on what the guidelines or boundaries for Lake Havasu City are going to be. So that it does give them certainty that they can start planning as they move forward to apply for licenses. And there's also a lottery system in this initial process. For those listening at home, that this it's critical that we make the right decisions at the entry level, and then we expand based on where the market goes. But we're talking about 27 licenses throughout the entire state of Arizona that will be distributed throughout the state. So chances of us having a widespread is going to be very, very limited. But so, appreciate your comments and your thoughts. Do any other council members have thoughts or comments on this item or questions for Mr. Morris or Ms. Gary?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember Dolan.
I don't know. I think this is probably the safest bet. If we can't be more restrictive than what we already have right now, then that's already the threshold I think we should stay at, using the same regulations. It gives us the opportunity to make changes in the future. But like I said, if we can't be more restrictive, I think this is a great starting point to be exactly cloning what we have now and then making changes in the future as things become more clear and change. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Dolan. Vice Mayor Koch?
It's not going to roll off your tongue very easy for a while,
I know.
is it?
Give me a couple meetings, it'll come right off.
It's really tripping you up, I can see. Thank you, Mayor. After listening to Luke, I mean, the concern here, if I'm understanding correctly, is by not doing anything or postponing a decision this evening, we're going to put the staff in a bad place when it comes to people coming in for applications and the zoning. My experience since we've had the facilities in town over the last few years is we've had little to no that I can remember concerns or problems within the community that have been brought to me as a council member. Now, not to say that there hasn't been issues, but there's been some concerns brought forward since this was brought up that it would be on the agenda this evening, and some concerns from business owners from all across the city and just people I know in passing. So I don't want to leave that up to city staff to have that on their shoulders. And if I'm understanding everything correctly and have read all of the communications correctly, I really feel like we need to make a decision for the staff this evening and not postpone it at this point. And I concur with Councilmember Dolan. I think this is, at this point, it's working for the most part for most situations, and I feel like that would be the best decision for us this evening.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, can I make comment on that?
Yes.
Maybe because personally I have experience with the location because my husband has heavy equipment driving up and down those roads on a regular basis, and he's the one that's running into the patrons already. So, and it's not our fault. And I'm not saying that all the patrons will, but when retail has never been designed to be in light industrial. I've had several business owners out searching for light industrial. And by the way, I'm recruiting some, finding some for people. So what I'm afraid of is by putting this precedent down right now, the people that are interested to coming into the industry are going to be out looking for these light industrials that we're going to take up this very limited amount that we had. I know we just changed Kmart building to a light industrial because they couldn't find what they needed. So the property is diminishing. The commercial area doesn't bother me as much, but I guess until you have heavy equipment driving through these light industrial windy roads, just go down to Easy Street condos, go down to those areas in there, and you will see how congested the parking is, how cumbersome this may become. So I'm just trying to say, if you give me a month, I know that Congressman Biasucci said that he has already been talking with lawmakers way before this and was on plan to talk to him again here in January. So that's what I'm requesting, is just a motion to table for 1 month. I don't want to mess up the staff. I want to make their job easier in the long run so that we can really take a really good idea, including maybe adding not having constraints on the neighboring zoning uses. I'm just looking at the future, and I'm just asking for a very short postponement. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell, what look at no restrictions on the adjoining zoning? What did you mean by that?
What I meant was no nuisance or problems within the current zoning of light industrial. Let's just say we have a lot of traffic, tourism traffic, other traffic going through retail industrial areas, causing more congestions and problems. I know you can't add more restrictions. I don't have all the answers now, but I'm willing to take the work and do it right.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or thoughts from council? Councilmember Lane?
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so I agree with Councilmember Koch. We want to give our staff direction. We always want to do that and take the burden on ourselves and off of them. I agree with Councilmember Dolan. We can always lighten things up later, but right now we can't. This gives a good starting point. And to address your concerns, Ms. Campbell, you brought up the Kmart building and the rezoning for planned development. As Mr. Morris said, if the business is looking for a different location and they can't find the location they're looking for in the proper zoning, they can come forward and ask for a planned development in a different plan based on this. So that would give us an opportunity to look at that and have the surrounding neighbors weigh in on it as well. So I think this is actually the best of both worlds. So my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lane. Councilmember Moses?
Yes, thank you. I kind of agree with Councilman David Lane. You don't know what problems you're going to have in the future until you get there, and so let's get a plan in place and then see where we need to adjust, and we'll adjust accordingly. There's no sense in postponing in my mind.
Thank you, Councilmember Moses. Is there any further discussion or comments? Not yet. We're almost to you. Yeah. Any other questions or comments from the council? No? All right. This is a public hearing. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Yeah, just please make your way up to the podium, state your name for the record, and then Christine, you can go right behind.
My name is Larry Broyles, and I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in the cannabis industry for 35 years. I consult. I'm an operator, vertical operator in multiple sectors in the United States, processing, retail, cultivation, and I've also sat on PACs for voting and getting people their medicine. Now that we're in a different place from medicine to recreation, I've been coming here to only enjoy life here in Havasu. I'm now moving here December 15th. I bought a building in light industrial. I got a storefront on McCulloch. I'm putting my money into Lake Havasu, $3.5 million. I'm looking to employ people, looking to create access for medicine. So for me, I'm really grateful that you guys are even talking about it. There's a lot of people that really do need the access. So whatever you do, look at medical, as well as your mainstream consumer. Okay? And if you guys ever need anything, I'm at 2036 McCulloch. Have a good day. Thank you.
Okay, Christine, did you have some comments? And then, sir, you can next.
Okay, wake up, Mojave. This is a good raking call. Wake up, wake up. I don't believe that proposition overwhelmingly passed in Mojave, but it did in Maricopa, and this is a perfect example again of us being overrun and not represented in our votes. So I'm for making Mojave County, the biggest county in Arizona, Western Arizona, so we can have our own representation and not be dictated by Maricopa. Thank you. And Chief, how do you know if somebody's driving under the influence of marijuana?
Thank you for your comments. Yeah, sir. Yeah, just make your way to the podium, and if you could state your name for the record. You could lift the microphone up just a little bit, too.
My name is Kyle Hettinger. I actually am the Chief Science Officer for Larry Broyles. I'm also...
was it Kyle?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you just lift the microphone up just a
Yes.
little so the people at home can hear you?
And
Thank
so
you.
I actually, I've been in Colorado in the business for 7 years. I actually do a lot of construction, retail, franchising, consulting, that kind of thing. So I understand a lot of the dynamics of that as well. But I do the building as well. And so I think one of you said, to your knowledge, I think you hadn't had any problems with the existing facilities. And I can really speak to that because I've built processing facilities and retail facilities, and they're secure. You have to have good parking. I kind of almost think in some ways it's good in both environments, in both a retail and a light industrial, because light industrial kind of keeps some of it out of the mainstream retail area. So, and just to really speak to it is, it comes down to following licensing. I mean, when you look at the essence of the Smart and Safe Act, it is about legitimizing the business and kind of taking it out of the shady area and making it a taxable economic thing that provides jobs. And we're here to do that. So we're definitely here to provide jobs. I think really there's no, in my personal opinion, and again, it's you guys, and so I would recommend no postponement because business is ready to happen. And we're here to make business happen, and we're here to make jobs happen. And we're here to, I've spoken to economic development commissions across Colorado, city halls across Colorado, and we do bring in safe revenue and under guidelines and bring this into a legitimate taxable business that provides jobs. And we do it in a safe way. So environmentally safe. I absolutely agree with the light industrial as far as I love the start of the guidelines with this, and we'll see where it goes, but staying away from schools, correction facilities, religious facilities, and then making sure that we just adhere to health and safety and whatnot. I had a couple other notes, just also being compliant and transparent in the community. Following all the new licensing guidelines, I've analyzed them down to the core. I think retail can be appropriate in the right situation. It sounds like maybe in this particular geographic situation that you're in, it's not working. But I think in light industrial, it can be a very workable situation, and it needs to be workable on both sides. So you've got semis and public safety. Well, it has to be workable for us as well if we have retail and light industrial to provide good parking and safety and access. So, that what I would recommend.
So you do recommend the light industrial with your retail business connected to the front of it?
Would be viable in the right situation. And we want it to be the right situation for us. We want it to be the right situation for everybody. I think in this particular instance, what you're looking at, I understand. I don't think there needs to be a postponement, and I'll say that because we're ready to go
by the light industrial.
Yes, and
See?
we're ready to come into the business, and
Yeah, which is awesome.
And we're bringing nothing but good stuff, and so not just in the processing part and the retail part, but just even in the retail storefront that we have downtown, with a salon in it. And so, I think he encouraged you to come by and see it. You would see that we're doing it more like a jewelry store, a Tiffany store, where your grandmother would want to come, or if it's like a CBD product. And my customers, and I speak from the heart. My customers over the last 7 years have told me the results. And like when you have a kid having 80 grand mal seizures a week, you want a place where their parents can safely or just comfortably shop. So there's appropriate places for everything.
I totally agree with you
Yeah.
on that. And the one thing that I was told too that I'm concerned about our real industrial here in this community is in light industrial rent is substantially cheaper than retail as well. And I was told that a lot of the industry is excited to be in the light industrial areas because they save a lot of money in overhead. When cities approve them to be in a light industrial area. Mind you, we have very little left.
I understand that. And also,
that's my concern.
In some ways, too, this is my experience because I actually do Safe Splash swim schools. I do Spango Fitnesses. I do Black Rock Coffee and stuff. It's actually, unfortunately, in this COVID environment, I think even in the retail environment, there's going to be massive opportunities. And unfortunately, so many places have gone dark. I think those two things are going to be immediately balanced. I think there's going to be massive, I know there is. There's already massive opportunity. And so I think the balance is we're not just sucking up cheap space. Unfortunately, I think in our current economic situation, every place is cheap space now. I mean, landlords.
Well, thank you so much for your expertise on this, because
yeah.
that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, no,
I really think we
I
need to
love
have the
it.
discussion. We need to really discuss with the industries and everybody moving forward so that we are not confusing anybody or later regretting the fact that we're sitting back without any industrial property left.
You're not going to be hurting regular retail. Regular retail is already hurting, and there is going to be a flux back into regular retail space. And unfortunately, a lot of it's going to stay dark. And I really do have, and humbly, I have a lot of experience in that. I was working on 150
but
projects.
your 3 minutes are up. So
okay, thank
we
you.
went a little bit longer. If there
Thank
are
you.
any questions of
Hey,
the
I
council.
appreciate it.
But yeah, thank you,
Thank
Kyle,
you.
for your thoughts.
I just love the conversations.
Yeah, great.
We need to be talking.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Can I make one more comment? Real quick. Yeah. Yes.
So our intention.
I get up to the microphone. I'm sorry for the folks at
Our
home.
intention, once again, Larry Broyles, our intention to take our businesses that we already have working to come here. This has been our second home, but you're right. Industrial, we spent 7 months before I could buy a building and there was 2 available. And I have 16,000 square feet. And the model is retail in the front, cultivation, processing, manufacturing, where you can come and see it from start to finish. There's nothing else done in your state yet like that, and that's what we want to bring from our business platform.
Yeah, thank you, Larry.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Would anyone else like to address the city council? Yeah. Good evening.
Dr. Jack Dunn. Mr. Morris put some slides up earlier, and I'd like a little clarification when you say some of the recommendations as far as what's the residential setback? I don't think you showed that. And then what about a spirituous liquor license? Is that any liquor license, or is it a certain I don't know all of them, Schedule 1 or 7. What are some of those points?
Okay, I believe that it's all the liquor license, but Mr. Morris, could you answer Dr. Dunn's questions for me?
Yes, I can. Thank you. My understanding is you're asking what separation is from residential zoning, and that's 500 feet from residential district or use. And then the Arizona Spirits liquor license, basically it's any liquor license. It's not, spirit is maybe a little misleading. That's their name for the spirit, Arizona Spirits liquor licensing. So it's any liquor
It's
license.
any one, not a specific one.
Correct.
Okay. And then when you're talking about your restriction as far as parks, do you have that slide still someplace that you could show us?
With the council's indulgence, I'll share my screen again.
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
All right. Hopefully it's coming up here. So you're asking about, what was it again?
So public park, recreation facility, or playground. So what would be a public park? Would a state park be a public park, or is this the one we're talking about with kids and playgrounds?
Public park, in my mind, means a park that's open to the public. And that sounds like a state park would meet that requirement.
Okay, does it have anything to do with as far as entrances to those parks? If a park is completely fenced off, would that 500 feet go to the entrance of a public park, per se?
Well, the distance separation requirements are outlined in the current code, and they're straight line distance from the boundary of that property to the boundary of the other property that's being measured from. So it's from property boundary to property boundary is my recollection.
Property boundary to property boundary, okay?
But
Okay,
again, Dr.
thank
Dunn,
you.
you can use the plan development process through a rezone to go in front of planning and zoning and the council to still make something work with these restrictions pending the process.
Understand, okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Morris. All right, yeah, Mr. Mitchell, if you want to just make your way to the podium.
I have to admit that I'm rather ignorant of the whole process of how this all is processed and what kind of dangers might be present with chemicals that may be used in the processing of whatever they're doing. And I'm wondering who vets that and how do you find out what kind of potential dangers that industry might have, other than it sounds like it's quite a boon economically. But I'm wondering, is there any danger and what kind of locations would be needed if there are dangers?
Yeah, so the proposition outlines that the Arizona Department of Health Services is responsible for licensing and monitoring those types of impacts that licensees may have. But it's Arizona Department of Health Services who's responsible for that. And the information that Ms. Gary mentioned earlier, where we expect those regulations to come out in January, we'll have a better understanding of what that is. But it's through the Arizona Department of Health Services will be the licensing agent, if you will.
So there are no current regulations regarding that?
They're drafting them now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Based on the November election. So.
Just a really quick answer.
Yeah, really quick, but you gotta get to a microphone.
Really quick.
Yeah, Kyle, come to the microphone. Yeah.
Super quick.
Yeah.
It's
There's people at home watching
The
too.
process is no different than, you won't see anything different than you would see in a mechanic's automotive shop. And under the same regulations, and you'd be adherent and compliant to fire and building code. And in fact, it's in a safer, cleaner environment. But you're not going to see anything that's any different, except actually probably under even more stringent guidelines.
Thank you. All right, would anyone else like to address the city council in this public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We also are receiving public comment via email. We have not received any for this item. I'll bring it back to council for further discussion, questions, comments, or motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Dolan?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
I move to adopt ordinance number 20-1247, amending Lake Havasu City Code, Title 14, zoning, with the land use regulations for recreational marijuana.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan and a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any further discussion? I understand Councilmember Moses, you have some additional discussion?
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions pop up and I didn't get them in before Jim moved. But is there a limit on the number of licenses provided to Mojave County or Lake Havasu specifically?
Not specifically, no. In the act, there's only that global restriction that ties in with the registered pharmacies in the state.
Okay, so if there's just a limit on how many are in Arizona, and if we become this, and so far we only have 2, but it'd be up to the individual to move a license here if they so choose.
Just based on the proposition or the state statutes as they exist now, we're not sure what the rules, if they'll have anything additional as to the partitioning of the licenses. That's yet to be seen.
And then also I had another question. Can you operate multiple storefronts under one license? So you have one you have one marijuana license to grow, and then you can have, 4, like Starbucks, you can have 4 can you have 4 storefronts around the town?
I don't know specifically because we haven't seen the rules yet. There can be a dual license, so you can have a nonprofit medical marijuana dispensary and operate a marijuana establishment. So under the act, you can have a dual license for a store. Okay. But if the rules, how they operate under a specific license, right now you have to have a license for each location. I'm assuming that's what it will be, but we have yet to see those rules.
All right, thank you for the time.
Yeah, great. All right, we do have a motion from Councilmember Dolan and a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any additional discussion? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we're ready to vote. Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 5-1.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 10, current events. Do any council members have any council committee reports? No? All right, moving on to, it's not really a current event, but I do want to thank, before I forget, Steve and Jerry in the back for making sure all this technology works and people can zoom in and zoom out and be a part of this. So thank you in the control room to Steve and Jerry. Future meetings, our next meeting is on Tuesday, January 12th, 2021 at 6 p.m. It's going to be a regular meeting. And then we have another regular meeting on Tuesday, January 26th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Again, a regular meeting. Item 12 is future discussion items. Do any council members have any future discussion items?
Mayor, I have a motion to discuss proclaiming Lake Havasu City a constitutional sanctuary city. Many of our citizens have spoken, and I promised I would be the voice of the people, and that's what I'm doing today. Let's continue discussing this matter with hopes that we can do what's right by our people. Many Lake Havasu City voters agree government has too much overreach and believes this proclamation could be beneficial to them in the future. Let's strengthen the desire to allow cities and states to govern independently, proving Lake Havasu City is better equipped to manage themselves. I look forward to a resolution that we could all be proud of and come together as a city and unite through city council, town meetings, whatever we can do, but I'm requesting a future discussion item.
So just for clarification, what's the item that we're going to bring forward to discuss?
We are going to discuss the proclaiming Lake Havasu City a constitutional sanctuary city.
Okay. All right. Is there a second? All right. There's no second to move forward with that. Is there any other future discussion items? All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. We have a
second. Yeah,
we have a motion to adjourn from Councilmember Lane and a second from Councilmember Moses. Everyone be kind out there. Thank you for being a part of this. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all. Thank you.